So let's start out by defining what is operational excellence. So I'm not going to try to define it, because if you go on Google and you search what is operational excellence, what you'll find is 100 different definitions of operational excellence. So what I want to talk about is what are the elements that need to be in place for achieving operational excellence. So the first question is operational excellence for me? So if you have a customer or your clients ask, okay, should I do operational excellence? So the question is, do you have a customer? If it's yes, you have a customer, then you can do operational excellence. So it doesn't matter if you're a service organization, a manufacturer, a distributor, a healthcare provider. If you have a customer, then you can do operational excellence. Operational excellence actually starts with the customer. We want to focus heavily on the customer and understand what are their needs. Customers have needs. You have different customers that might have different needs, and you have different markets that you might serve that might have different needs. So the first thing we need to do is understand what are the needs of our customer. So I'm amazed how many companies I go into don't understand their customer needs. We need to do a lot of work here to really understand what are the needs of the customer. Yes, sometimes the customers tell us their needs, sometimes they don't tell us. So we call those implied needs. So if they don't tell us what their needs, they just assume that we know what their needs are. And sometimes the customers don't even understand their needs. Really understanding the customer needs is the first step, so we can start designing the internal operations to support those needs. Customer needs feed into the organization. So in the organization, we're looking at 3 main pillars that support us in achieving our customer satisfaction. What we want to do is we want to satisfy the customer to the extent that no other competitor can. We do operational excellence and we have some level of customer satisfaction. I'm going to talk later today on more details on what is actually levels of customer satisfaction. But we're looking to provide more value than our competitors or what our customers can get through a substitute product or service. Inside the organization, we have 3 pillars. These are the core processes in any organization. I'm not discounting that we need human resources, that we need IT, that we need these other functions, but the core, we call those supporting functions. So for example, HR is a supporting function. IT is a supporting function, but the main pillars, finance, marketing, sales, and operations, are our core functions. Each of these have objectives that they're trying to meet, and in the middle here, where the 3 circles come together, is really leadership's role. So leadership's role is to make sure that everyone in the organization is aligned and marching to the same beat in the same direction. So leadership's role is to get alignment and to make sure that these functions are working in conjunction with one another. If they're not working in conjunction with one another, then we have misalignment. The biggest opportunity that I see in most organizations is to get alignment between the functions. Most organizations, most functions operate well within their function. What they don't do is they don't operate well between functions. So the breakdown becomes between functions. And most of that's because of sub-optimization. We'll talk about sub-optimization later, but each function is trying to optimize their own performance at the expense of the organization's performance. So the leadership role is to define the vision and mission of the company and to make sure that everyone understands those and everyone understands what are the primary objectives and the highest priorities for the company. First step, have a vision and mission statement. What is vision? What is mission? To me, vision is the direction the organization is going. So leadership needs to define the direction. Are we going north? Are we going south? Are we going west? Which direction are we going? So that's the first step. Second step is the mission statement. Mission statement defines why we're going that direction. Okay, we're choosing to go south. Why did we choose to go south? And what's the purpose that we chose to go south? Okay, so that's the vision and mission. It's interesting, I just saw a Harvard Business Review article that talked about leadership and alignment. And what they did is they interviewed several companies, and they found that managers within the companies, only 55% could name one of the top 5 strategic objectives that the company was trying to achieve. That's a huge problem. So if your leadership defines the vision and mission, but nobody in the organization knows what direction the organization is going, you're not going to achieve the goal. So important that the leadership defines that. We'll talk about other supporting things that support those in terms of KPIs in the next session, but this is the basic structure of operational excellence. I did an operational excellence workshop in a company in Ohio, and when I went in to do the operational workshop with the leadership group, I asked them, because one of the foundation pieces is vision and mission. When I walked into their office in their lobby, vision statement, mission statement, quality policy, I go into the workshop, okay, what's the vision statement of the company? Nobody in that room could tell me the vision statement, and that was the top leadership. So if the top leadership doesn't understand the vision and mission, what do the lower level employees know? There was huge misalignment. So what we're trying to do in the first step is get alignment through the whole organization. And we do that through understanding the customer's needs, designing the vision and mission statement to support those needs, and providing huge value for our customers. Let's go a little bit deeper now that we set the foundation. Let's understand the necessary and sufficient conditions to creating a high-performing organization. There's 2 elements here, necessary and sufficient. So what's the difference between necessary and sufficient? So necessary is the requirement that needs to be in place to achieve high performance. So there's certain elements that need to be in place. Necessary means that element has to be in place. What is sufficient? It means that that element is in place, is actually delivering the results that we're expecting. So I see a lot of companies that have necessary functions in place or necessary processes, but they're not sufficient. Meaning, yes, we're trying to achieve this, but the process isn't achieving the expected result that we're looking to achieve. So we need both of these in place. Necessary, so the element needs to be in place. Sufficient, it needs to be delivering the results that we need to be a high-performing organization. So let's go a little bit deeper here. So let's talk about the necessary conditions. So I have a picture here, and if you had to describe this picture with one word, what word would you use? So most people, when I ask that question, can answer that question: focus. Operational excellence is all about focus. How do we define focus? So there's definition of focus, and the definition that we use is doing what should be done. So if everyone is doing what should be done, then we can achieve our objectives. But a lot of times people aren't doing what should be done, and they get distracted and work on other things. To clarify the definition of focus, it's not only doing what should be done, it's not doing what shouldn't be done. That's actually more important than doing what should be done, is not doing what shouldn't be done. Those are the distractions that are distracting the company from achieving its strategic objectives. And most of that comes from sub-optimization. Oh, within our department, we can make this process more efficient. Well, that doesn't improve the effectiveness of the organization. So the necessary conditions that we want to have in place here, first is we satisfy all the customer needs. The previous slide, we talked about identifying customer needs. It's satisfying all those needs. So it's not partially satisfying those needs, and it's not satisfying those needs at the end of the month, because we call it the end of the month syndrome, where we're rushing to get everything out the door that the customer's ordered within that month. It's consistently meeting those needs on a consistent basis. Second is meeting the needs of the organization. So we have the organization's needs, which includes our stakeholders. So that's the employees, the ownership, maybe the community. So you need to define who your stakeholders are. So we also need to meet those needs. Of course, we need to be a profitable organization. If you're a for-profit company, there's other needs that the organization needs to meet. And we need to make sure that we understand all those needs and we set up the operational excellence to meet those needs. Third is establish the mindset to achieve sustainable improvement. So this is so critical. Part of what we do is when we start a project with a company is we first need to get the mindset. So we need to get everybody in the same mindset. If we don't do that, then again, everyone's off doing their own thing and we have the misalignment again. Establishing that mindset is the first step in getting alignment. And we're looking for sustainable improvement here. So it's not just get an improvement and 3 months later slip back to old practices. That happens over and over and over again. So it used to have a saying, after 6 weeks, the wheels fall off. So we would implement something, 6 weeks later, we'd go and check, and we're back to old practices. One of the keys is not only changing the mindset, but also creating sustainability. If the process improvement isn't sustainable, it's not an improvement. Think of a step ladder, right? We want to go up steps, and each step is getting better and better performance. We don't want to go back down 2 steps after we go up 1 step, right? Then we're not achieving a high performing organization. Fourth is establishing a positive change in organizational culture. So the culture is so important in achieving operational excellence. Culture is how people make decisions, how people treat each other, how people interact within the organization. So the second part of this session today is going to talk about organizational culture. These are the 4 necessary conditions that we need to have in place to achieve a high-performing organization. Let's talk about organizational alignment. So I talked a little bit about that in the previous slide. So what is organizational alignment? Our goal is to create a high-performing organization. The company needs to define what that means for them. So once we define what a high-performing organization means for them, we need to make sure everyone is aligned. We really don't want to focus on efficiency. We want to focus on effectiveness. So what's the difference? The analogy I use here is a rowing team. So you can see the boat at the top is going straight and everybody's rowing in sequence and they're extremely effective. And they're getting to the finish line faster than the boat at the bottom. So the boat at the bottom, why are they going off course? So we look at this one rower here, the second position rower, he's being efficient, he's rowing 3 times faster than everybody else. When he's rowing 3 times faster than everybody else, what happens? The boat goes off course. Organizational alignment is about synchronization. So if you think of a rowing team, there's actually the head of the crew that's getting everybody to row in sync. They're pacing everyone and everyone's rowing in sync. So we don't want to have other departments being highly efficient that's causing us to stray away from our goal. Synchronization is a huge part of organizational alignment. We're going to talk more about synchronization and operations in the 3rd session, but in short, if we think of a symphony, so a symphony, we have multiple people playing instruments, and in a symphony, to make beautiful music, there's a time to play and there's a time to wait. The goal of a symphony isn't for everybody to play through their music as fast as possible. If everyone plays through their music as fast as possible, everything's out of sync. Play beautiful music, there's a time to play, there's a time to wait. So it's no different in an organization. There's a time that you should do a function and there's a time that you should wait. And that's hard for people to understand. To make the system efficient, we don't need to make every process efficient. Making every process efficient in an organization creates unsynchronization. So to achieve synchronization, we want everybody to be in sync and rowing to the same objective. That's going to achieve our goal much faster. When I'm talking improvement here, I'm not talking years, I'm talking months. So I did a project with a company recently, and in 6 months, this is what we achieved. We improved their lead time from 18 weeks to 8 weeks. We reduced their inventory in-house from $2.5 million to $1 million. We increased output by $1 million over that 6-month period. which increased their net profit significantly. We improved their on-time delivery from 40% to 92%. That's significant improvement in about 6 months period. When you start to get alignment and start getting everyone focused on the goal and everyone's working in sequence, it's amazing how fast results can come. How is operational excellence achieved? So there's 3 main elements. First is focus on the customer. So we talked about that, how important it is to focus on those customer needs. If we have a company that's struggling delivering to their customer needs, then we need to figure out how to better service those needs and how to set up the internal operations to better service the customer. So in this example I said, their customers were complaining about long lead time. They had certain markets that wanted really short lead time because they supply the pharmaceutical and food and beverage. So you can imagine now pharmaceuticals going crazy trying to come up with vaccines for the COVID-19 virus. They're extremely busy. Well, if the customer puts in an order and says, oh, it's going to take 15 weeks to get your order, that's not acceptable, right? They want their product in a few weeks. So there's ways to deal with that. So how we dealt with it in this organization, we actually reserve capacity for those customers that have a high need for short lead time. The ones that don't have a high need for short lead time, we push those orders out further in the future, and that reserve capacity reserved for those customers with a high need. Now we're servicing both customers' needs, and we have the internal capability to do that. Second is empowering employees. To me, the employees are the most valuable asset in the company, so we need to leverage their knowledge, skills, ability, and experience. When I go in and help companies, I'm facilitating the change. The employees are coming up with the ideas because they're the experts in their own business. So I'm not coming in claiming to be an expert in their business. I'm coming in to be an expert in how to transform a business. And I leverage the employees' knowledge to do that. The employees are extremely valuable in this process of operational excellence. And again, we're going to talk about culture. So the employees make up the culture. So in order to improve the culture, we need to empower those employees to improve the performance of the organization. And then last is focusing management attention. Too many times management is unfocused, and that means doing the things that shouldn't be done. So we need to stop them from doing the things that shouldn't be done and get them focused on the things that should be done. When we look at an organization, there's actually very few things that we need to do to get significant improvement in the organization. The hard part is identifying what those are. And again, part of what causes that difficulty is the between function missynchronization. So if we really get management focused on the things that really should be done, we can get significant improvement in months. And then depending on the customer's needs, once we build that capability, then we can leverage that capability in the market to grow the business. Let's just do a quick review. First of all, operational excellence is defined by the customer. We need to understand those needs, and the value that we provide is the degree that we meet those needs, whether they're explicit or implicit needs. And it's about relentless pursuit of delivering customers' expectations each and every time. So not part of the time, each and every time we deal with the customer, they have an excellent customer experience with our organization. Next is establishing the necessary and sufficient conditions to deliver the expectations in the most effective manner. First, leadership commitment and alignment. So that's so important that leadership is committed and leadership is aligned. So aligned means if I were to talk to the top leadership in the organization, they all can tell me the number 1 priority, second priority, third priority, fourth priority in sequence. Empowering the employees, so getting the knowledge, experience, education of the employees and leveraging that to drive improvement. Third, establishing that correct culture and mindset, making sure that everyone is in the mindset of being able to rapidly improve the organization and that we have everyone understands what needs to be done to achieve that. And last, focus, focus, focus. can't stress this enough. Focusing on what should be done to achieve the goal and not focusing on what shouldn't be done. Now we'll move on to organizational culture. This section here, we're going to talk about culture. So understanding the culture and motivating employees to achieve breakthrough results. Every company I go into, they say we're different. If I had $1 for every time I heard that, I wouldn't be working right now. So every organization I go into, we're different. And it's amazing how generic business is. A lot of companies are struggling with the same problems. The one thing that they are different in is the culture. It's how people make decisions, how people interact. Every organization is different in their culture. That's an important thing to understand when we start the transition process towards operational excellence, because we're going to design a different solution on how we achieve that based on the culture. I did one organization that had a union environment, and I would describe the relationship between the union and management as fire and gasoline. So the approach that I take in that organization is much different than an approach in a non-union environment that has a great relationship between management and employees. This is why I did the section on organizational culture, because it's so important when we make the transition of understanding how things are going to be done in what sequence to get that breakthrough result. Back to the necessary conditions. So this section is really focusing on this last bullet of establishing a positive change in the organizational culture. How do we do that? I'm a big Dilbert fan. There's a lot of Dilbert cartoons out there about culture. So what a high-performing culture is not. So the first one is, the boss says, we're hiring a director of change management to help employees embrace strategic changes. And Dilbert says, or we could come up with strategies that make sense, then our employees would embrace change. And the boss says, that sounds harder. The second one here is, we need to foster a culture of innovation. Does anyone have an idea how we could do that? And Dilbert says, you could give us less work and you could stop criticizing every idea we ever have. And he says, does anyone have a suggestion that isn't ridiculous? These are examples of what a high-performing culture is not. First of all, what is culture? So if we define that, it's the values and behaviors that create unique social and physiological environment within the organization. It represents a collective values, beliefs, principles of members of an organization. We're really focused on the values and behaviors, and I'm more focused. Yes, we need to define what the core values are of the organization. Leadership does that, but I'm more focused on the behaviors. So if we have the wrong behaviors, we're going to get the wrong results. So in order to change behaviors, we need to do something different. But it's very difficult for people to change what they do on a day-to-day basis, mostly because they don't understand how their role fits into the big picture. So just like that rower that I showed in that boat, right? The guy that was second position is doing an excellent job because he's rowing 3 times faster, but that's actually hurting the performance of the team. Establishing the right behaviors, understanding what the behaviors need to be to achieve high performance. So that's why we call ourselves future state engineering, because we're actually helping engineer that future state. And what behaviors do we need to have in place to achieve high performance? So what influences those behaviors are how people interact within the organization, how decisions are made, how people treat each other, and how knowledge is created, and how change is viewed by employees. When we look at these 4 things, we want to have a change management process that addresses these 5 areas. First of all, people need to treat other people with respect within the organization and understand how their role is affecting other organizations. So a lot of the misalignment I see is functions within the organization don't understand how they're affecting other functions in the organization. I'll give you an example. Working with this one company, their purchasing manager was driven by reducing purchase material cost. Okay, so he's going out, sourcing material, getting the cheapest material he can, bringing it in. What's the effect is the material's not very good grade and their tooling costs triple. The purchasing guy is doing his job of trying to find cheapest material. In the end, increasing tooling costs 3x. Okay, so that's where we have the misalignment. And the machining department was the bottleneck in the plant, so now they're doing tooling changes 3x, so changing tooling 3 times more frequently. It actually hurt the performance of the company. That function, optimizing his performance, killing the performance of the company. It's happening all over the place. So we need to understand the cause and effect of our decisions within the organization, how it's affecting other people. And lastly, how people share or don't share knowledge. Okay, so when we learn something, we want to make sure that we share that learning. We don't want to hold that. A lot of people are holding information because, oh, that's job security. If I'm the only one that knows that within the organization, then they can't let me go. But again, that's restricting the company from achieving higher performance. So what are some of the symptoms of cultural issues? We usually start with identifying the symptoms when we go into a company. So symptoms are not the root cause, but the things that are frustrating the employees. So for example, improvement efforts are not sustained, or employees are frustrated with the lack of accountability. Employees feel that communication is poor. Employees' morale is declining. Employees are frustrated with the improvement efforts. Managers feel pressure to micromanage. Resources are constantly under pressure to deal with new priorities. Employees don't feel appreciated for their efforts. Resources are spread too thin. There's lack of buy-in to plan changes. Okay, problems take too long to resolve. And lastly, there's no time to provide timely feedback to employees. If you've seen these in an organization, or if you feel them in your organization, right, these are the symptoms of the culture. These were taken from multiple companies that I've worked with. Okay, so I didn't just create these out of thin air. These are actually frustrations that I got from companies, from employees when interviewing them. Again, how most people go about attacking these is they start attacking each one of these symptoms in isolation. That's what we don't want to do, right? We want to understand what's the cause of these issues, and then how do we fix the root cause. If we fix the root cause, all these symptoms will go away. What we use is the change management matrix. Okay, so the change management matrix is a matrix, it's a 4-box matrix. Some people call it the 4-box matrix. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but with any proposed change, we have 4 possibilities. 1, the positive of not changing. 2, the positive of the change. 3, the negative of not changing. And 4, the negative of the change. If you're in a meeting trying to facilitate change, or you have some great idea and you're not trained in how to facilitate change, you're going to have people in the meeting in all 4 of these boxes. You're going to have people that don't understand why you're even proposing the change, because things are great the way they are. Or you're going to have people that only see the negatives of your change, and then you're going to have people complaining about all the problems that they're dealing with currently, and then some people will actually see the positive of the change. I'm a visual guy, so we look at these boxes with different symbols so it's easier to remember. Okay, so in the negatives of not changing are the alligators. So these are typically the things that are biting us every day and preventing us from achieving our objectives. Okay, so we start here in this negatives of don't change. Start with the alligators, understanding all the problems, the issues that are going on in the organization. So once we define the alligators, then we know what to change. Okay, so when we go through the change process, it's a 3-step process. First step is, what do we change? The alligators is helping us define what to change. Then second, we go to our pot of gold. So what is the proposed change? What are we trying to achieve? And that could be either an organizational wide or a departmental, but we want to make sure if it's departmental, it's aligned with the organizational needs that are aligned with our customer needs. This is the positive of the change. Next is the positive of not change. So these are our mermaids. So these are things that we do well. We don't want to change those, right? Let's continue to do the things that we're doing well. And then lastly, the negatives of not change are the crutches. So these are the risks. So if we implement this idea, what are the negative things that could happen? In order to be a complete solution, we need to first define the objective that we're trying to achieve, and actually we need to achieve that. In the process, we need to eliminate the alligators. If we don't eliminate all the alligators, it's not a complete solution. And third, we need to make sure that there's no negative consequences of the new change. These crutches are typically the people that say, yes, I agree with your idea, but, and they come up with 5 reasons why the idea won't work. They're seeing the negative consequences of your solution. So unless we address all those negative consequences, it's not a complete solution. So part of the buy-in process is we get the people that are in this box, the negatives of not change, the alligators, and we eliminate all the alligators. The people that are in this box, the crutches, we overcome all the negative consequences of the proposed change. And then we want to create more mermaids, but we don't want to stop doing the things that we're doing well. So we use this change matrix when we're going through and designing the solution, taking into account the culture. If it's a negative culture, they're going to be down here talking about the alligators and crutches. If it's more of a positive culture, they're going to be up here talking about the positives of the change. So we want to flip these people from the negative to the positive. So when I go into a company and we start the process of designing the future state, there's 3 groups of people. So there's a group that sees the change, that sees the positive of the change. That's typically a very small portion of the company employees. Then there's the people that see all the negative issues with proposed change. So we overcome those by coming up with solutions to what we call the negative branches. And then we have the fence sitters. So they don't know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. Depending on the past experience, it's like, oh, we've tried this before. It's like another flavor of the month. So I've heard that many times. Oh, this is a new flavor of the month, right? So next month we'll be on to something else. So those fence sitters are sitting back trying to decide what is going to happen. So depending on how many fence sitters we have, the first actions that we take need to have extremely positive effects. If we don't get that, then those fence sitters are going to say, yeah, I told you so, it wasn't going to work. But if we are successful in that first transition or that first change, those fence sitters will flip to the positive of change side. So now we got a critical mass moving the organization forward. So that's one of the keys of achieving operational, getting rapid results fast, is getting those fence sitters flipping to the positive side of change, getting that momentum, and change will actually accelerate at a faster pace. So I did a project with a company. We got amazing results in like 3 months. We reduced their lead time significantly, improved their on-time delivery, and the project was going well, then it stalled. So the president gets everyone together in a room and says, okay, we've made significant improvement, but we're stalled. So after like 4 months, things started to stagnate a little bit. So he said, I want to make a decision whether we're going to move forward or we're going to stop the project. People in the room, so I knew there was one manager that wasn't on board and he was trying to sabotage everything. So that's why it stalled. And so he said, I want to vote. How many people want the process to keep going? Everyone in the room raised their hand except that one manager. And he said, okay, who wants it to stop? That one manager raised his hand. Right there in the meeting, the momentum flipped. He saw that everyone was on board but him. He realized there was no way he was going to stop it. Part of the process is getting the right people on the bus and getting the wrong people off the bus. We've never had to let people go as a result of implementation. Most people that aren't aligned will leave the company on their own. And once we get the right people on the bus, it's getting them into the right seats, leveraging their capabilities to actually accelerate the improvement process. So if we look at those undesirable effects that I showed earlier, the ones that fall in the negative, these are the alligators. So these 4 elements here are the alligators. So these are the things that are frustrating the employees. There's lack of accountability. We're frustrated over the improvement efforts. Morale is declining. Improvement efforts are sustained. But we want to create a high-performing organization. These things are blocking us from achieving that goal. Unless we solve these problems, we're never going to achieve this high-performing organization. The risks associated with that would be, oh, if we're a high-performing organization and we're the employee of choice in the region, other employers will come and steal our employees. Okay, that's a negative branch. How are we going to prevent that from happening? So we want to make sure that we put in the system so that it's less likely people are going to come and steal our employees, and the employees will want to stay with our organization. On LinkedIn, I saw a post going around where the CFO says, what if we train all our employees and they leave the company? So that's the finance guy speaking. The CEO says, what if we don't train them and they stay? We have 2 sides of the fence there. So then the things that we're doing well, right? We invest in ongoing training of our employees. We have a comprehensive onboarding process, right? Those are the things we do well. We don't want to change those. This is how the different elements fit into our change matrix, right? So keep doing these things. Eliminate the negative things. Address the crutches to achieve the high-performing organization. So building a high-performing organization is a 4-step process, defining what to change. Understand the cause of the alligator. So don't address the symptoms. You need to understand what are the causes. 2, what to change to. So there's multiple ways we can solve the problems. So we define our pot of gold once we understand the cause of the alligators. 3, how to cause the change. We want to eliminate those alligators. 4th, how to sustain the change. We want to minimize or eliminate the crutches, and we want to keep and create more mermaids. So this is the 4-step process that we model our future state engineering around. So let's do a review of organizational culture. So this is the end of section 2. 1, unique values and behaviors within the organization defines the culture, how people interact, make decisions, and treat each other, how employees view changes within the organization. Establishing high-performing culture involves leadership, commitment, and alignment, empowering employees to achieve buy-in, establish the correct mindset, focus, focus, focus. Again, do what should be done to achieve the objective. Don't do what shouldn't be done. We want to move on to the 3rd session. We're going to dive deeper into understanding the customer. So we want to achieve organizational alignment through customer focus. So this section, we're going to focus on the first bullet here, satisfying all the needs of the customer. Again, another Dilbert cartoon. So what customer focus is not. Our goal is to ship 1 million units this quarter. Dilbert says, do we have any goals that involve making our customers happy? And the guy says, I'm talking about our goals, not their goals. The boss is totally different. So many companies are internal focused about meeting their goals that they forget about the goals of the customer. There's some reality behind these Dilbert cartoons. And that's part of the misalignment. Everyone's trying to optimize their own performance, and they're missing the satisfaction or making their customers happy. What is customer focus? Understanding the customer's needs better than they understand their own needs. You have customers out there, and sometimes they don't even understand their needs. So getting them to realize their needs better than they know themselves. We're going to talk about some different organizations that are great at that, or understanding the needs that they don't understand that they have. Henry Ford said, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. They couldn't even come up with the concept of an automobile, right? There's like the mode of transportation is horses and buggy. What do I need? I need to get to where I'm going faster, so I need a faster horse. Breaking out of that box, thinking outside the box. So a lot of times you can actually help your customers understand needs that they don't even understand that they have themselves. But we want to deliver something that the customer doesn't think is possible, that'll differentiate you from competitors. So I listed some companies here, Google, FedEx, Amazon, and Omron, just to show that a competitive advantage isn't discriminatory. There's a service organization, a distribution company, a logistics company, and a manufacturing company. These 4 companies are in the blue ocean. So there's a book out there called Blue Ocean Strategy that talks about how to create uncontested market space. So these companies have developed at one point in time uncontested market space, and how did they do it? So they created huge value for their customers. I'm trained in theory of constraints, which was developed by Dr. Goldratt, who wrote the book The Goal and several other books on business. His definition of value was value is created by removing a significant limitation for the customer in a way that wasn't possible before, to the extent no significant competitor can deliver. So we're talking about removing a limitation. Okay, so think about these 4 companies. What limitation did they remove for the customer? So Google, the limitation was I had to go to the library or go to an encyclopedia to get information. I don't need to go anywhere anymore to get access to information. I have it with my smartphone or my computer. Amazon, what limitation did they remove? So I don't need to go to the store, realize that 2 of the 3 items I'm looking for are out of stock, and then go to another store to look for what I'm trying to get, and then wait in line to check out, right? So there's huge limitations that they removed. Omron developed the first handheld blood pressure monitoring device. So what limitations did they remove? I don't need to go to the doctor to get my blood pressure checked. So if you look at the common thread of all 4 of these, it's saving time for the customer. Every organization I go into, how are you wasting your customers' time? Ask your customers that. How are you wasting your customers' time? If you're wasting your customers' time, there's huge opportunity to bring value by not wasting their time and understanding their needs and designing your capabilities to satisfy those needs. So you can see those 4 companies are huge organizations. A lot of people get caught up in price. Oh, our customers want lower prices. That's what everyone says, but then when we start asking them what their needs are, they have more needs than just price. So what's the difference between value and price? So value is only meaningful when it's expressed in terms of specific product or service which meets the customer's needs at a specific time. Depending on the situation, the price may be different. I'll give you an example. So you're on your way to an important meeting, and that meeting you're going to land a huge deal with the customer, and on the way to the meeting you get a flat tire. What are you willing to have that flat tire repaired? Meanwhile, you wake up a Saturday morning, nothing really important to do, you go out to your car, flat tire. What are you willing to pay then? Same problem, different situation. The value of what that is worth to you is different. So we need to understand that at different points in time, customers' needs may change. Depending on those needs, the value changes. So the degree in which the organization meets the customer needs defines the value that the organization provides. Price is determined by how much what customers willing to pay based on the level of value that the product or service provides. Price has nothing to do with cost. The customers don't care about your cost, but most companies price their product cost plus. Why do they do that? Right? Because they don't understand what value that product is bringing to the customer. So the greatest example is a smartphone. If you look at new smartphones, they're over $1,000. Do you care how much it costs to make that smartphone? If you knew how much it costs to make the smartphone, you'd be crazy, right? Because it's probably less than $100. It's probably less than $20. Why can they charge $1,000? Because it brings huge value for the customer. It has nothing to do with the cost. So many companies are caught up in the cost thinking, oh, this is the price because that's what our costs are. I don't care, right? An example, we had a customer I'm working with, the one that we actually reserved the capacity for short lead time, and we were offering about 4 weeks lead time. Okay, so all of the products were 8 weeks. We were offering this product line for 4 weeks. And so the customer calls up, oh, I really need this. How fast can you do it? And I said, okay, let's talk about how much we're going to charge for that. I said, we can do it in 2 weeks. So what's that worth to the customer? And so we have a discussion with the internal leadership team and the sales team. And they're like, oh, we can charge an expedite fee. Okay, what are we going to charge? So the salespeople goes, how about $150? I go, $150? I was thinking double the price. They're like, what? Are you nuts? So the quote was for $8,500. I said we should charge them $17,000. They're like, you're nuts. I go, you don't understand your customers' needs. Their production line is down. So they sent the quote for $17,000, got the order within an hour. Okay, so it just proved right there they don't understand their customers' needs. Has nothing to do with the cost, has everything to do with how fast we can deliver that product. So there's huge opportunity if you can deliver something that nobody else in your market can deliver. And you can charge basically whatever you want for that, okay? And that's part of creating that blue ocean, that uncontested market space. What are useful outputs? So if we look at the supply chain, we have supplier, input, process, output, customer. We call this the SIPOC diagram. Useful outputs are defined as a necessary and sufficient inputs as defined by the next step in the process. So we don't work left to right in this scenario, we work right to left. So first of all, we need to understand what are our customers' needs. If we truly understand our customer needs, oh, we need really short lead time. We need high quality. We need whatever it is, right? We define those from the customer. Those requirements to the customer define the outputs that the organization needs to deliver. Okay, so this starts to define what does operational looks like for the organization. So the customer defines the needs. So those needs define the outputs. Those outputs define the internal processes required to achieve those outputs. Necessary and sufficient. So we already talked about what those mean. Necessary means we have something in place that can achieve that output. Sufficient means each and every time it achieves that output. Not half the time, not 20% of the time, each and every time. So then those processes define what the inputs need to be. Those inputs to the process that are needed to achieve the output that satisfy the customer needs, that's all defined. And then we define for our suppliers what we need from them to achieve our outputs and to satisfy our customer. If the customers have a high need of really short lead time, they have emergencies, we better have suppliers that can deliver on really short lead time. Or suppliers do consignment inventory in our shop to satisfy those short lead time items. All types of ways to design that solution. But again, we start from the customer and work backwards and design operational excellence from the view of the customer. So the foundation of operational excellence, the customer defines the requirements that are the necessary and sufficient processes to meet their needs. So I want to talk briefly about levels of competitive advantage. So again, this is based on the blue ocean strategy. So there's different levels of competitive advantage. So at the bottom is the red ocean where all the competitors are fighting, and there's a feeding frenzy because the ocean is red from blood. At the top, we have the blue ocean, which is uncontested market space. So at the bottom is the number of competitors. So as you move up the pyramid, the number of competitors reduces. And also what's important, the time for the competitors to replicate that solution actually increases. So if you can come up with a competitive advantage, and the higher you move up this pyramid, the longer it takes for competitors to catch up to you. So what's the lowest level of competitive advantage? The lowest level of competitive advantage is price. So people are competing on price. If I give a price for my product or service, how long before someone can match it or beat it? Almost instantaneously with today's technology. Okay, so we don't want to be down here competing on price. And where I've seen companies compete on price, nobody wins, not even the customer. We start to cut services and the customer actually suffers from that. Okay, our next level up is quality. So whether it's the quality of service or quality of the product that we're delivering, yes, quality can give us some level of competitive advantage, but our competitors can go out and replicate that relatively quickly. And they can actually put systems in place to prevent quality from affecting the customer. So yes, it can give us a competitive advantage, but not significant time. Next level up is changing a deep-rooted policy. So this is a policy that's in place, internal focused. It's either in place in the company or it's in place in the market. So it's a policy that everybody believes in the market is true. If we can change that deep-rooted policy, it can give us a competitive advantage, and typically it's very difficult for companies to change deep-rooted policies. I'll give an example. So I like to pick on the Postal Service, right? So the Postal Service, when they were in trouble, struggling, they said, oh, we're going to eliminate Saturday delivery and we're going to increase the price of stamps. Okay, there's a great strategy, reduce the customer service and increase the cost. But if we look at the Postal Service, when do most people that are working go to the post office? Typically during their lunch hour. When do the postal people take their lunch? During lunch hour, right? So you go to the post office and there's one person at the counter and 20 people standing in line. That policy, we take lunch 12 to 1. What would happen if they changed that policy? Of course, it's probably written in the union contract that that's when they take their lunch, right? So it's not a simple thing. But if they could change that, how much better customer service can they give? The opportunity is huge. So these policies are all over the place in companies. So when I ask people, why do you do it that way? The number one answer I get, oh, I've been doing it that way for 50 years. Yeah, but the environment's changing. Change the policies. Next step up is changing a paradigm for the customer. So what is a paradigm? A paradigm is a way of thinking or a belief. If we can change a paradigm for the customer, then we can bring huge value. So the company I like to talk about here is Walmart. So if there's people on the call that were around before what I call pre-Walmart, if you wanted to get a prescription filled, where did you have to go? Oh, I had to go to the drugstore. If I wanted to get groceries, where'd you go? To the supermarket. If I wanted to get my tires changed, where'd you go? Oh, you have to go to the mechanic shop. Oh, if I need to get my eyes checked, where do I go? I got to go to the eye doctor. So Walmart said, hey, we can bring that all together. You can come one-stop shop. You can get your prescription filled. You can have your tires rotated, get your oil changed, do your grocery shopping and everything in one shop. That was a paradigm shift for the customer, that we don't need to go to multiple places to get what we need. We can go to one place. Walmart became a huge organization by shifting that paradigm. Then Amazon comes along and says, hey, we can eliminate a significant limitation. You don't even have to go to the shop. You can do everything from home and have it delivered to your house. Now, Amazon removed a significant limitation and is now the 500-ton gorilla. So you can see these different levels of competitive advantage. So these companies that were able to remove a significant limitation are in the blue ocean. Okay, so the next question is, who's going to knock off Amazon? People are like, what, are you nuts? Nobody's going to do that. Yeah, but that's what they said about Walmart. Okay, so it'll happen, just a matter of time. This is our levels of competitive advantage. If we can move our customers, if we can change that deep-rooted policy, or we can change the paradigm for their customers, or we can remove a significant limitation, it gives a significant competitive advantage. The review of this section: what is customer focus? Delivering something that the customer doesn't think is possible that will differentiate you from competitors. What is the foundation of operational excellence? The customer defines the requirements for the processes that are necessary and sufficient to meet their needs. Aligning all processes within the organization to service those needs. So the alignment is part of the operational excellence. Value is the degree which the organization meets the customer's needs, and removing that significant limitation for the customer will provide huge value for the customer. If you want more information about what we do, you can visit our website, Future State Engineering.